Alrighty guys, today we're going to be talking about polymorphine. What is it? And more specifically, how does it work? Now this is going to be a very interesting topic because again it's lesser known lore. But it's mostly tied with the Callidus assassins. So I'm kind of on whether or not I should just call it Callidus assassin lore. But hey, whatever. Polymorphine, here we go. Now, polymorphine is one of those drugs that's not an opioid. I know for all you opioid addicts, that's probably why you clicked here. Polymorphine? Is that like morphine mixed with some other good shit? Oh yeah. Give me that Dilaudid, baby. No. Polymorphine is more emphasis on the polymorph rather than the morphine part. See, what this does is allows the user to transform and morph their bodies into different people, different creatures, and this allows them to not only fit in with their targets, but this allows the Callidus assassins to get real close for a long period of time with their targets and strike at the most opportune time. There has been a few Callidus assassins who would actually use the polymorphine drug as a way of assuming control of an enemy's position. Like let's say a bunch of rebels are causing trouble and they're relying on this one general to keep giving them orders. If the Callidus assassin kills him and then strips some of his clothes and studies his body, and then she takes the drug polymorphine, she can morph into that general and then give bad orders to the rebels, which of course can help them lose the war. Or, more likely the case, the Callidus assassin can study the general and say, hey, he goes to this bar by himself every day and he stays there till it closes. I could pretend to be the bartender. Let me learn how to mix drinks. Let me study what the menus are in this place. Let me study the people who are there. What's the relationship with the bartender? Now let me go kill the bartender. And now let me take this polymorphine, morph into the bartender, and then assume the role as if nothing has changed. Do the same day-to-day conversations, meet the same people the same way, everything. And then right when you're about to close the bar and here's that general sitting there with you and you're telling him, all right, sir, it's time to get out. The moment he stands up, you slice him in half with your phase sword. Yep, that is what this drug is able to do. Now, the way it works is kind of not really described too well, but we do know enough about it to get a gist. After all, this is a very fictional, high sci-fi type ordeal, so it would be pretty much impossible for the authors to give us a good description of how it morphs the body. But we do know a few things. When a Callidus assassin is picked, they're usually picking women. And the reason for the women is because women seem to be more receptive to the drug. Now, that may sound weird to you, but believe it or not, there's actually a few drugs we have in our real world that are just like this, where they're more receptive to different genders, and sometimes they present certain side effects with certain genders, which is, I know, odd for some people, but that's a real thing that we do deal with in our own world. So to me, it makes sense that the Callidus assassins are all women because the polymorphine drug, which is so vital in their day-to-day operations, it works better with women. That makes sense to me. That makes sense in the lore. Now, they do get surgical implants. These surgical implants not only bolster the effects of the drug, but these implants allow them to morph easier into whatever form they're trying to get. These implants are kind of like the black carapace that the Space Marines get, where it's like this sheet underneath your skin that allows you to interact with the power armor, but instead, Callidus assassins don't use power armor. So instead, it's like this sheath that goes underneath their whole body skin, and this allows their skin to, puff out, bulk up, make it look like they have a nice, tough pec muscle, but reality is it's just their skin is being pushed by this implant to hide their boobs. They also get a few glands inserted into them if they're trying to look like a specific species entirely. One Callidus assassin known as Melindy went through a specific surgery so she could look like a gene stealer hybrid. This would require certain glands in place. This would require a few extra organs put in place. But for most Callidus assassins, it is just simply this black carapace type implant and some bone implants. Because some creatures or some people, are taller and shorter. So these bone implants would help them stretch their legs, shorten their legs, and of course, that would help them blend in. Now, before you think you can just pop this drug in your mouth, get a few implants, and boom, you're set to go, that's actually not how this drug works. This drug actually requires a bit of training with it. See, it takes an intense amount of concentration to maintain that form. If, you're a woman and you have to grow a pair of balls and a dick, that could be very exhausting to keep reminding yourself, all right, yes, I have something flapping between my legs. Yes, keep that thing down there. Yes, yes, yes. And by the way, make sure that my back is longer. Make sure that my muscles are a little bit bulkier. Yeah, I gotta keep that in mind. Not only that, but you also have to think about your facial features. I have to toughen up my jaw, make it look nice and tight, tough. Yeah, this is a lot of concentration and a lot of work. This is why it requires a lot of training and a lot of study of who their targets are going to be. That way they know exactly how to look. Now, they do have more generic forms they can take. Some Callidus assassins do these more generic forms where it doesn't take so much concentration. It's just simply, all right, let me just show my real face, but let me just look like some stereotypical hive worlder. Fine, perfect, great. Now I can go about my day and go about this assassination. Because some targets don't need a very specific thing. Like if you're trying to assassinate a priest, you don't want to look like the choir boy. That's a lot of concentration. But you can look like one of his commuters. I mean, shit, he's not going to recognize you out of the tens of thousands of people who come to his church. Yeah, so just take a very bland form, just a clean slate look at what a normal woman would look like and just go, fuck it, I'm going to look like something like that. And that's what the Callidus assassins could do. Now, you may think, what if I'm a person who takes this drug and I don't have any implants, no surgeries, no training? What happens to me then? Well, you're going to have the worst 2 hours of your life. You see, the thing is with this drug is that it lasts for around 2 hours, 2 solar hours, and depending on some surgeries and some trainings, it can last longer, and it could last shorter, depending. After all, if it takes a lot of concentration to maintain your form, it might burn up that drug real quickly. But if you're highly receptive to it, more than most Callidus assassins, and you have certain surgery implants, you could last maybe 2 hours or longer in that concentrated state. Well, if you're an individual who doesn't have any of this training and surgeries and implants, you can actually end up more or less the same. No disfigurement at all. You just look the same, talk the same. Maybe something's a little different, like maybe your eyebrows are a little lower or more dangly than they used to. Or something really bad could happen, where you see your hand all of a sudden dissolving. You're like, oh God, what's happening? And you're trying to look around going, what the fuck? And in doing so, you're so concentrated on trying to see what's happening to your body that you don't realize that now you have 6 million eyes. They're all scattered around trying to look at your body because now you're just a blob of eyes. And of course, this is only temporary. It's only 2 hours. And of course, the real side effect you're going to have is just in case you do grow back to your normal form, there's that slight chance that maybe some of the transformations may stay permanent. So you may turn into a blob of eyes and then come back together, back into your new normal human form. But now you just have one big fucking eye on your forehead. Or you could have just 6 eyes on your back, lined like a pair of nipples. That'd be very unfortunate, especially when you put on a shirt and you have to somehow keep track to keep those eyes closed. Oh man, that would suck. Now there's a many different unique functions of this drug that some Callidus assassins have discovered. Like one of them is known as Mother Gullet. I'm not joking, Mother Gullet. The story goes is that there was a planetary governor who's being a shithead. He was trying to be his own man, fuck the Imperium, I'm too important for it. I'm going to take over his planet for myself. That kind of ordeal. Mother Gullet studies the target. She comes in as they call her Mother Vigilant, but really what that is just a nanny, a babysitter. She comes in as the babysitter of the planetary governor's only child, his son, looks at the planetary governor's son, and expands her mouth to this ridiculous proportions so she can stuff the baby down her mouth and swallow it. Now, what does she do after that? She fixes her face up, all nice and good, walks out of the palace, goes to the headquarters, and from here we have a few different versions of the story. Some people like to believe that she just ate the fucking kid and that was it. Other people like the more, I would say, more recent version where she spits out the child completely intact somehow and gives a video to the planetary governor, and the planetary governor realizes, oh shit, she just ate my child and then spit him up. I don't have my child anymore. Alright, fine, I comply with the Imperium. Personally, me, I prefer where she just swallows the kid, because I know that they have extra organs, but there's no way they have a specific organ that's like a stomach, but it's also a lung at the same time. There's no fucking way. The last Callidus assassin I really want to mention is Assad Varenis. She is very unique because of the certain drug that she's taking. It's not just polymorphine. No. See, she takes a drug called hyperpolymorphine. This is a souped up version of it. Many candidates have failed, but Assad just happens to be the lucky son of a bitch who's just super receptive to regular polymorphine, so this drug is right up her alley. Now, you may think, what makes it hyperpolymorphine? Well, normally with polymorphine, you can assume the role of whoever it is you're more or less copycatting, but it doesn't actually give you any like stab boost or anything like that. This, though, the hyperpolymorphine, you could morph yourself into a space marine and be just as strong as a space marine. You could morph yourself into a orc war boss and be just as strong as that orc war boss. This is where it gets interesting. See, hyperpolymorphine may work that way, but it comes at a cost. Hence why it's hyperpolymorphine. It requires a bunch of elixirs to keep the user's body stable after ingesting it. So you see what's going on here is that not only does it make you super strong and super badass, and it allows you to morph into more interesting forms, but in doing so, you need to, of course, take some elixirs to keep your body alive. Certain stabilizing elixirs and stuff like that. Stuff that only the Mechanicus would have. Of course, Assad is a rogue. She more or less is a mercenary, which is not legal. So, as a Callidus assassin, she's being hunted down by an Inquisitor. But that is interesting that the only way she could really stay alive is by raiding Mechanicus places and taking their elixirs that she needs to keep her body alive. Something else that's very interesting, too, is that the hyperpolymorphine doesn't just change your outside. It also changes the inside organs as well. So now, if you're being scanned by a machine, the machine can literally not tell the difference between you and your target internally or externally. This is awesome as fuck. Some of the other weirder things about polymorphine, though, that I find very disgusting is that it's able to mold your body in ways that you can fit into almost anything. I'm not joking. There may be a tiny ass pipe that may be 6 inches wide diameter, and she can just morph herself in there, squeeze her bones down enough for her to actually morph through this fucking pipe and wiggle her way out. That to me is very disgusting and very gross, because I can just assume that there would be there would be like some sort of phase sword climbing through my toilet when I'm taking a shit, and then she just morphs out of that tiny hole and just sticks me up. Yeah, no. That's very disgusting. No, I'm not taking that. So overall, with polymorphine, it's a very awesome drug. I like it a lot. It's very necessary for the Callidus assassins. But I do find it interesting on how they need certain organs implanted, certain surgeries done to them if they want to look like a Tau, if they want to look like an orc, if they want to look like a gene stealer. If they want to look like a human, they just need the normal implants and the normal training, and they're good to go. But when it comes to the other stuff, they actually do need a little bit of extra help, which I find very awesome. Like one Inquisitor, Melindi, who is a romance lover of Jacques Drago, If you ever get a chance, please read Ian Watson's Inquisitor Wars. Very excellent piece of literature there. And Melindy is only able to turn to a gene stealer. That's her side effect of the surgeries. Sure, she gets all these implants and stuff to look like a gene stealer, but the issue is that she, unlike other Callidus assassins, can't change her form. She has to look like a gene stealer. And there's even one point in the book where she looks like a gene stealer, but she morphs herself this little, like, fuck vagina pouch thing. It's really weird looking. Apparently it's like, yeah, it's essentially a vagina. She like morphs this weird kangaroo vagina onto the gene stealer so she can blend in with the Slanesh planet. It's silly as fuck. But she cannot polymorph into a human. She can't do that. She can't morph into an Eldar. She can't polymorph into a Tau because the surgical implants she has and the glands and the extra organs prohibit that. They're not programmed for that. So it would cause really massive side effects if she ever tried it, which I find very, very interesting. So besides that, this has been Free 700. I'm out. I hope you guys enjoyed. Really, the only pictures I had were just Callidus assassins because there's no picture of the drug itself. So besides that, see you guys next time.